I give away all my possessions, if I hand over my body so that I may boast, but do not have love, I gain nothing. Love is patient. Love is kind. Love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoing, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. But as for prophecies, they'll come to an end. As for tongues, they'll cease. As for knowledge, it will come to an end. For we know only in part, we prophesy only in part. But when the complete comes, the partial will come to an end. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror, dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. And now faith, hope, and love abide, these three. Greatest of these is love. We're in the midst of our second year of our capital campaign, Growing to Give, with our emphasis on growing in love towards one another. And the text we focused on for that this year is from John, Jesus at the Last Supper with his disciples. And it says, I give you a new commandment, that you love one another. Just as I have loved you, so also you should love one another. Love, that love that's being talked about in the Greek is agape. And we've talked about the fact that this is different than the love between, the romantic love between a couple, the love that is found in a family, or the deep and abiding love of friendship. Agape is other-centered, right? It's the self-sacrificing kind of love, and it's most associated with Jesus. And that's the kind of love that's being described in that text from 1 Corinthians today, agape. This chapter from Paul comes right after chapter 12, which makes sense, it's chapter 13. This is the brilliance a pastor brings to you. He can count. But in chapter 12, he talks about spiritual gifts, and that was the issue in Corinth. They were having arguments over the spiritual gifts that everybody had. Some said, hey, I have this wonderful spiritual gift, and you have that little thing over there. Some were lording it over others, saying they were better than others. They were more important than others. And so to counteract this, this is where Paul talks about the church as a body, right? That all gifts are necessary for the body to function well. Hey, where would the head be if it didn't have feet? All gifts are necessary for the work that we do. And then in this chapter, he puts spiritual gifts in right relationship with what he says is even more important than that, love. And again, the word here for love is agape. And this love, you'll note, and this is one we've often heard at weddings, right? But in that list, please note that in the Greek, these are not adjectives. These are verbs. Action words. Paul is not describing what love is, but what it does. Of the 15 words that are used in the description of love, 7 are about what love does, and the balance are about what love does not. Description by the negative. This gets at what this kind of agape love does. This love that we are to have with one another is not a feeling, it is an action. Always moving in relationship with the other. Love is not the act of desiring what another has. It's not the act of showing off for others, puffing ourselves up, acting in an unseemly way. Love is not insisting on our own way, easily provoked. It doesn't keep an account of the wrongs others have done to us, nor does it rejoice in injustice. Rather, love is being long-tempered. What a wonderful image. It's being kind to one another. Love rejoices in the truth, and according to John, that truth is Jesus. It bears up under heavy loads. It endures all challenges. Love trusts. Love does not have an end point, a moment at which it does not love anymore. Love endures. And that is this is what we are in the midst of striving for this year, to grow in this. And I know I've seen this love active in you individually throughout this year. The way in which you care for members of our community. I saw it particularly with Pat, Brad, and Jessica on the death of their mother, their wife, their uncle, their brother, within 24 hours of each other. I've seen it in a group of women gathered around a friend, caring for her in her illness. I've seen it in the patience that you show each other, even when people frustrate you. And there are plenty of ways in which we together have shown this love for our neighbors. You've seen it, I think, in pretty much every video. And I continue to be impressed with this expression of our love through VBS. An offering to the community free of charge. Y'all come. Through things like the community food drive, the Super Bowl of Caring, which we are participating in right now, the gifts that you have made to disaster relief this year, fires and hurricanes. I've seen it in the way we treat each other with respect and care, even when someone here really ticks us off. And you know it happens. But what are the ways in which we need to continue to grow in this love? Where do you need to be more long-tempered? Where do you need to tear up that list of wrongs someone has done to you? Where do you need to re-engage with someone so that agape love does not end? Where do we as a community need to grow in our love for one another and for those whom we live among? The only way that this love grows is by first receiving this love. It is Christ who models this love for us, a love that claimed you unworthy as you are in these waters of baptism, that drowned the old, selfish, grumpy, critical you, that raised up a new person, one who could begin to love others with agape. We experience that love as we gather together around word and meal. When we're reminded of the story of God's pursuit of us, God's beloved. Of how God sent God's own Son into the world so that we might no longer be enslaved to other things, but filled with love. That we might taste the bread and wine and receive the forgiveness and mercy of God, be filled and inspired to go forth and show that love and mercy and forgiveness to others. I do give thanks to God for each and every one of you, for the ways in which we have grown together in love and in faith. And I give thanks to God that work continues to happen together in and through us, so that God's mercy and love may be experienced by all our neighbors in the work that we do together and in each of your daily lives as you go forth from this place. But particularly at this moment, as we work together with all the various gifts that we have, to be the best body of Christ that we can be as St. John in Ely. I pray that we may receive the courage and boldness to always sing the story of the love God has given to us in Jesus Christ, and that we might invite others to join in that story with us. And so let us sing about that old story.